This is David with the Paranormal-Activity podcast. There hadn't been too much activity until these last few days. So 2 days ago, I'm ready to go to bed, and at this point, the white light or yellowish white light doesn't show till around 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. So I happen to look at the curtains because nothing's been happening in the curtains. I can't see any movement within the curtains, and that's been maybe a month ago, maybe a little bit more. So that night I'm just starting to look at the curtains and I see the movement again. And why, there was this pause for so long of evil moving its way within the curtains. I don't know if it had to do with that that other individual that from the Caribbean. I don't know if he's basically telling them not to do anything because they have structure, and I've read that in other articles. So I see the movement and I thought, well, it's going to come back eventually, and that was all for that night. And then the following night I wake up and it's around 3:15 in the morning, and there's a yellowish white light, but it's kind of changed its shape now, because it used to be kind of like a large rectangle on the ceiling, and sometimes it would be longer, sometimes shorter, or sometimes wider. Well, now within the last maybe 7 days or so, it's like there's a real thin line going all the way across to about halfway up the ceiling, and then there's that kind of rectangle shape, but it's not very big. But the yellowish white light used to always be separate. Wasn't like connecting to any part of the house, outside of the ceiling. But now I'm seeing almost like a yellowish white light coming from the curtains going up to the wall, going up the ceiling, and then showing itself still connected to like a line or something. And I don't know why that's happening. For months it was always like that rectangle, and like I said, periodically the shapes would adjust or whatever. But now it's like it's almost like a line connecting to the yellowish white light. And what that means, I have no idea. I don't know why now it's gone from rectangular shape to now being connected, like it's almost like it's coming from behind the curtains and then going up the wall about halfway to the ceiling, and that's where it is. So I don't know if that means it doesn't need to show itself more, or maybe not as enough activities there, so now it kind of like shrinks. This is just a guess. I could be totally wrong, but I don't know why it's changed that shape, because now, like I said, it used to be when I'd go to bed about 10:30 or 11, I'd see it on the ceiling. Now I very rarely ever see it on the ceiling when I go to bed. Now when I wake up at 2 or 3 in the morning, there it is. And even when I get up around 5 a.m., 5:30, it's there again. But it never used to be that. So I don't know if it's just evolving to that it doesn't need to provide as much protection. And again, on that, I'm just assuming that that's the reason, but I could be totally wrong. And the one thing that kind of surprised me, and this just happened about 2 hours ago, I'm in my bedroom, and I'm gonna walk out. I think it was to the kitchen. No, I was walking from the bedroom into this, I call it the computer room. And right when I walk on the hallway, I see, just like for a split second, a white shape. So I don't know if that's an angel or whoever, but it was white. And so now I don't know if that means it's going to start getting more, there'll be more evil activity, or maybe they just kind of like checking up on me, so to speak. But I haven't seen, anything white in quite a while. I've seen the black, the evil, but I haven't seen the white. But they just showed today, just out of the corner of my eye, it was like a split second. But I could tell it was outlining something, but I knew I could see it was white. So that's good. And the other thing, or the last thing I want to mention, is that I've used my trail cam over the years in the bedroom, and I've taken these pictures, and I think I've tried to make it more complicated than what it needs to be. So I'm just going to do like a short, introduction like I'm doing now, and then I'm going to show you the pictures. And that way you can start seeing what I've been seeing beginning in 2020. That's when I set up the trail cam. So the first ones I'm going to be putting out next week is, and this is when the room was a little bit different. I was ready to start kind of remodeling. So on the dresser, that's the one, when you see it, it's kind of like a yellowish dresser. That's the one where the portal was. And then when I switched out the other one, all the people on the other side were, looking at me mad because I kind of screwed up the portal, which I didn't know, that could cause it to close, and it never has reopened. But within that first two pictures I'm going to show you, it's a monitor that I used to have. And there's two pictures, and you can see kind of like a trail of, almost like trail of white smoke going into the monitor or coming out of the monitor. I really can't, I've kind of gone back and forth. I think it's going into the monitor, but it could be coming out. But that's why I always tell people, when I talk to someone about evil activity, always go to where there's sources of power, like surge protectors, monitors, TVs, things of that nature. They're going to go wherever they can try to absorb as much energy as possible to make themselves more powerful and make them more evil in a way. So I'm going to go ahead and release that next week, and I'm going to try to release something because I have to go through the film, but they're all relatively short clips. But that's what I wanted to show, what's been going on for periodically over these last 4 years. And I am going to go ahead and set up the trail cam this weekend. I thought I was going to do it last weekend, but a lot of things happened, so I'm going to go ahead and set that up. And the one thing that I don't want to use the word proud. I guess the word is lucky. And I'll talk about this when I'm ready to release that. But one of the, and this is probably the most convincing things I've ever seen. This happened, God, it had to be 5 years ago, maybe 6. And I'm laying in bed, and like I mentioned in the past, when evil comes into the room or any activity, I wake up because I'm kind of, I guess, psychically connected to them. And I wake up, and this is, I think it was in the wintertime because I had blankets on and all that. And I see this old man ready to touch my ankles. And he looks up, and I guess he's kind of like connected me too, so he knows now I'm seeing him because he raises his head, and he gets startled, and he backs up, and he hits my hamper, and it makes a noise, which, that's pretty rare, someone who's a spirit to hit something hard enough to make noise, but it did. And then I didn't see him for a couple days. Well, on the trail cam, a few days later, I think it was a few days because this has been a long time ago, it showed a picture of him, and it also showed like, it's kind of like a U-shaped, and it's like bright lights. And I've looked at that many times, and I think what he's holding is like a power source or how to collect energy, because you're going to see him, and then you're going to see another picture of him like from the side, I believe, and it'll show like this white light, like a power strip, so to speak. And at the very end, you're going to see a picture of an evil spirit. Now, I didn't get his face, of course, but you can see his black outfit, and he's got like a red, almost kind of like a red embroidered on his, I don't know, I don't think that I could call it a cape, but something along those lines. And I was shocked that I got that. I never thought I was going to catch much, but I caught that on there. So that was the one person I saw who was ready to touch me, and then I saw him a few days later on the trail cam. So I'm going to go ahead and get it set up. And a lot of times I could go for like 2 or 3 weeks and it's nothing, and then all of a sudden I'll get pictures taken. So, but that's down the road. But next week I'm going to show the ones where the white smoke, so to speak, is either going into that old monitor or coming back out. And I have other clips and things. But I always make things, I think, a little too complicated, and that's why I haven't started releasing this. So now I'm just going to do a short intro, and then you can see the pictures. And that in itself isn't a whole lot of proof, but when I release them periodically, you'll start seeing that a lot of these things I'm talking about, that's why I talk about them, because that's what happens in my bedroom. So I'm sorry, I usually don't talk this long, but I figure I might as well get this all in now. But I appreciate everyone watching. Thanks.